Hey, what's up guys, Mashine here, come back with a brand new video for you guys. Today we're going to be talking about 5 pretty common CSGO investing mistakes that I'm starting to see a little bit more than I'd like to. It's something I'd like to address because it's not only going to improve your CSGO investing experience, but you might be able to squeeze out a little bit of extra profit on top of that. But let's hop on into it. First up here, this one's pretty basic. It's going to be not tracking your CSGO investments. You need to have some sort of spreadsheet or some sort of way that you're marking down what your entry price is, how many you have of a certain item, the quantity, and it's going to be able to improve your experience a lot. It's going to be a lot of stress that you're able to kind of push away, push to the side, know that you're actually making profit on this item. If you don't know what specific price point you invested in on an item, it's going to be very hard to get out and feel good about your investment. There's going to be a lot of questions going through your head, or at least that's what it was for me personally if I didn't have my spreadsheet. Now, whatever route you choose to take with this, I just really and as strongly as I can suggest that you make sure you know exactly what price point you invested in and how many of a certain item you have. It's going to make your life so much easier, and it's going to make you feel a bit more confident about your investments. If you see that something's gone up 50% and you weren't really paying too much attention to it, you might start to look into that. Maybe that's a better item than some of the things you're buying currently, but that's pretty much all I got for point number 1. Now, mistake number 2 is going to be not selling off your items when you really need to. This one, it's definitely up for interpretation on what you think is the right time. Obviously, everyone would like to sell at the peak. That doesn't mean that everyone can sell at the peak, and that's where we see a lot of problems arise. Now, this kind of goes along with my last point as well. If you know exactly what you entered in to a certain investment or situation at, it's going to be making much more sense to sell off at a certain price point if you can guarantee that you've got a 30% profit on this item, and therefore you can make the justification to do so. In this experience, I think there's definitely going to be times you're going to miss it, and that's completely all right. The thing is, the majority of the time, you should have a pretty decent feeling on when to sell off. Now, this is going to come with time, and you're not going to be at the exact top of the line. You're not going to be at the tippy top point and making the most profit there, but I think there definitely is some wiggle room here, and you're not going to regret your decision. My biggest piece of advice for selling off is set a couple price points to sell at. Maybe you're going to sell off 50% at this price, 25% at this price, and the remaining 25% at this price. Don't plan to sell everything at one instant moment. It's probably not going to work out too well for you. You're going to flood the market for that short time period if you're not trading with a super liquid item, and overall you're going to be feeling much better if you're selling off a certain amount of capsules at a certain price point. You're going to feel more confident in your decision, plus you might be making a little bit of extra profit because if that price does go up a little bit higher, you're going to be able to snag a little bit more on that last 25% or whatever percent you choose of capsules. Now, the third investment mistake I see so often is buying into market hype. Now, the thing about market hype is it's a great time to be involved in the CSGO investing scene. We're seeing prices that go up pretty quickly for a significant amount of items. Almost everything on the Steam market, there's a time during the past 2 months it has gone up a pretty decent amount. Now, that does not mean there is going to be a winner every single investment, but there is going to be a lot of investments that are going to increase in value, and that's where the draw comes in. The greatest example of this in probably the past month is going to be that Mao's Hollow from Stockholm 2021. That's pretty much the thing that rallied the entire Challenger's capsule up. Plus, when we look at the graph here, we can see that it's down 50% from its peak, which is quite astonishing, at least in such a short time period, that the price doubled and then it went back down to that same price point, or even maybe slightly lower depending on when you're looking, that it was originally sitting at here. Now, this is kind of playing off to my last point, kind of playing onto this one. You can see at the peak here, there are people that sold at that price point, which is awesome, but then there's also people that bought in at that price point. It's always a double-edged sword here. There's people that made a ton of profit selling off at that price point, but then we've got the people that just bought in, and that's the main issue here, is there shouldn't be anyone buying in at that price point. A lot of people really start to get into a significant amount of FOMO mindset, especially when we see that CSGO investing hype really start to pick up. This is the part that always kills me, because there's just so many people that play into this mindset of that it's going to be going up, doubling in price once again in the next upcoming weeks, when there's nothing changed about the sticker. The sticker could be potentially a decent investment. Obviously, it's sitting at $8.40 now, and it started off around like $2 after the sale. So it's been a good investment up to this point. That doesn't mean it's going to obviously move forward as a good investment here, and this is a prime example of that. It just always is a huge pain for me seeing people buy in at that high price point, knowing that it's very unlikely they're actually going to be getting their money back. Every time we see a super hype spree, there's always people making the same mistake. The fourth mistake I always see is people not correctly buying in. Now, correctly buying in is a very subjective term once again. It's kind of an overall umbrella term for me because there's a couple things I want to hit on. First, you shouldn't be depositing money onto Steam. I don't think many people are doing that, but it's something I want to throw out there. The main thing here is using buy orders on items that do not have float values. Now, if you want to avoid using a buy order on actual weapon skins that have float values, that's completely understandable. The value of a skin that has a 0.16 float value versus a 0.35 is going to be pretty significant, and that's something you could get slightly burned on with a buy order. But when we're talking about cases, capsules, stickers, there's really no reason to not be using a buy order, especially since almost always are you going to get that buy order filled, and very rarely are you going to miss out on that item because the price has gone up significantly. That's, I feel like, the main reason people tend to avoid buy orders is because they want to lock in the investment for the current price point. But as we can see with the mouse hollow here, there's a dollar difference between this buy order and the actual selling price. That's almost 12% of the total money you're going to be spending here, which is quite significant considering if you look at it with that mindset, it's buy 8, get 1 free. Now, obviously, you can do whatever you want, and sometimes it's not going to be making much of a difference, especially when we're talking about cases. It might be 1 or 2 cents and not worth your time to do so, but it's always something you should keep in the back of your mind. The last investments mistake I usually see is people listening to Suka. The last investing mistake that I kind of see a decent amount is going to be people not doing enough research on the actual investment that they're going into. Whether that's looking at the supply versus the demand, it's going to be very different for obviously a range of items, or that's just taking someone's advice at face value. We've seen a lot of people come and go in the CSGO investing scene, and there's a pretty significant amount of people that want to push their investment onto you, and if you're naive enough to do that, they're going to take your money, walk away, and you're going to be stuck in the same position as the people that just bought this mouse hollow at $17. You're going to be SOL. Anytime there's a chance for people to make money off the downfall of others, there's going to be some people that end up eventually taking it. YouTube is no different. These people are going to be taking the gambling sponsorships, they're going to be telling you about their investments, and then they're going to be slowly leaving the scene. It's not something that I really expect to see that much moving forward, but it's always a possibility, and it's always going to have people feeling a pretty yucky taste in their mouth walking away from CSGO investing. But that is really all I have for today, guys. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.